Welcome to another edition of Hey, here's a cool tool. This tool is for those that use, what is it, Configuration Manager, SCCM, MECM, whatever you call it these days. So if you use that tool, then this will work for you. I'll explain how it works in a second. Right now, I'm just testing to make sure that the change I just made is actually going to fix the problem that I was having. So this tool I'm giving away for free, and I'm quite certain companies would pay thousands of dollars to use something like this. It pulls data from the databases in order to help large companies that use SCCM in order to, let's say, the help desk or the people that usually do phone support, or even server guys, it doesn't really matter. You pull data based on either users or computers. And then using that data, the fields are in place to, I should say, the most useful data is in these fields, at least for me in my daily work. It also has the capabilities for remote controlling into the PCs that you select, as long as you have remote access into those naturally. So let's say you're an admin to all your workstation class machines. From this tool, you should be able to query a person's name, find the machine located or associated with them, click on the remote button, and connect to their machine to help them and solve their problems. Or at least you could have a list of computer configurations in order to, at a glance, notice that something might be wrong. It also has a list of software, and I've even added additional tools. So let me actually get to the tool. You don't really need to watch me going through my code right now. Alright, here's the basic interface. You type in a couple letters, you can hit find user. See, if I just click one and hit find, notice I put a 3-character limit. So I'm going to type my name, or at least the first 3 letters of my login ID. And it has everybody that has those 3 letters in their user ID, their name, full name, their email address. I'm going to click on the name field, and then it'll populate all the computers that have been associated with my name at any point. I've logged on to them, I would say at one point. That's usually how you would do that. I'm just going to type in some characters to empty out the fields. Now, as far as the computer name, I don't have a limit of 3 characters. So anything that has US in the name will be populated. This is great if you have a list of servers that all have the same prefix. Just click on it and then hit the RDP button. Easy way to have your list of servers and just straight RDP from the tool, and it lets you know configuration of the system as long as that information is in SCCM. My server, I just built a bunch of these so they don't have any users associated with them. But you can see all the other technical details are pulled in. This one's linked to my login ID. I know I have a lot of the data crossed out. I don't want to give away my business information. So I'm going to hit the SCCM remote button to remotely connect to that server. It'll start its host session. It's asking for allow, so I'm going to go to the other computer and hit allow, and then it pops up. So, easy SCCM remote without having to use the SCCM console to connect to the system. This is a game changer for people paying for external support. I clicked on the Show Application button. It shows all the applications that are listed in Add Remove Programs. And if they installed some from the company portal or Software Center, then they'd show up on the right as user base, basically anything available that they installed. Alright, I'm going to go back to my name. I logged onto a user's computer, so it has his name in it. Let's go back to one of my computers. See my settings, see my applications. These are the stuff that I installed from Software Center. If it's a required app, it's typically going to show up on the left, or if it's a manually installed app. This is another way to see if your users are manually installing software that's not on their system, or that's not supposed to be on their system. So I'm going to click on one of these computers and so you can just straight RDP into them. It's going to ask for my credentials in this case. And then I can log into it. So that's two easy ways to connect to computers. You typically don't want to RDP into a user's computer if they're logged into it, but you can. The admin share is basically if you go to // computer name / admin $, depending on the ID that you're logged in the system, it'll either directly open or it'll ask for credentials because that particular account doesn't have access on this particular server. And I can browse their file structure. Open up computer management. These are the tools that my local help desk would use the most, so those are the buttons I added. Connecting, and now I can adjust the local users groups, look at the device manager, disk management, services, make sure it's all running. And then beyond trust. Actually, I think I was using this tool, so I might have changed the button. Yeah, that's actually running a PowerShell script. So let me show you that real quick. So the way this tool works, well, here, let me show you. See now it says run PS instead of Beyond Trust. If you uncheck the box, it'll go back to Beyond Trust. But you need to make sure that the connection strings are set up. And I have a blog article set up to explain how to do all this. And then you could override the Beyond Trust button with any command you want that can connect to a remote system. You can't really just type in, for example, CMD because you need the full command line. It's expecting C:/Windows/ cmd.exe. You try to do something that doesn't work, it'll say, hey, this ain't working. Big red X at the bottom. All right, so let's go back. Several people asked, what about the SCCM logs on the computer? I have CM trace on all my systems under the Windows folder. So as long as you know how to connect to a computer name /share, for example, this, we use the curly brackets computer name to denote the system that you're looking at in the main tab. And go $$ Windows CCM logs appenforce.log. Let's say the user is having issues installing a piece of software. This is typically the log you would look at. So I'll click the button for that server. And if you notice at the top, when it shows up, it's connected to that server's appenforce log. And then if you wanted, you could browse through their other logs. You should have access, seeing as this just opens straight up. Now let's do some PowerShell configs. My last tool that I made, more people wanted to do some PowerShell, so notice I changed the name to PS. Just the name basically is showing what's going to show up on the button. The full command line is the typical location for PowerShell. And then I just grab, these are some example ones just to show you how it works. Notice the curly bracket computer name, save the options, hit the run PS button, and that was what, a list of running applications on the system. So if you want to see what's running on the user's computer, you could just set that up. That'll tell you whether or not like a specific app is running for the user. Or maybe you want to check the uptime of the specific computer. Just paste the command in here. Pretty much, if you can do a PowerShell command that will connect to a remote computer, you should be able to use it here. This computer's been up for 19 days, 16 hours, 40 minutes, 53 seconds, yada yada yada. And you can get pretty complex with it. The key is basically if you can make a PowerShell command in one line, then it should work here. Any tool that you can have the executable run with an argument that accepts a computer name, you should be able to use it to remotely connect to these systems. And all you have to do is swap the computer name with a little curly brackets computer name. And if you want output, check the box for output if it requires it. Otherwise, it'll just open up whatever the tool is. The next question is, how do I install this tool? Well, first you need to make sure when you download the tool, it'll have a SQL script. It'll be .sql.txt. You need to make sure you modify it for your environment. I have it using the tools database because that's what I named mine. But if you decide to create a different database, make sure it's named so it uses that. Then you find all instances of my domain. See, my domain. It's there, and it's down lower in certain parts of the script. Yeah, it's in the OU. Oh, if it's not .com, you might need to change that as well if your domain isn't a .com. I didn't think about that until just now. So for example, if you work at Microsoft, just replace it with Microsoft. Replace all. 10 instances were replaced. Next, you need to make sure that the site code matches your site code. As an SCCM admin, you would know they all start with CM underscore and then the 3 letters. So swap out the site code with CM underscore, whatever the 3 letters are associated with yours. QWE. Because it needs to pull data from your SCCM database in order to populate the tables that we're creating with this script. See, all those get swapped out. The next thing is you need to create a job to run the stored procedure and have it run daily. So what it does is it daily pulls the SCCM data that we've determined we need into the new tools database. Here's SQL Management Studio. Here's the database. It puts all these tables, all these views, and this one stored procedure. So you got to go to your SQL Server agent, right click, new job, and just set it up to run the stored procedure daily. If you want more updated data, because you're constantly changing systems, which you don't necessarily need, um, I don't need to explain SCCM, but this is just, all this does is update. It runs the views and updates the tables, and refreshes the tables based on the views that we created. And you can go into each one of these and see what they do. It has more views and tables than are actually needed because I plan on expanding this tool, and these are just the ones I already had set up. In case you're wondering why some of these don't look like they're being pulled into the tool, it's for the next evolution that I push out. So, an example, you can look at what the stored procedure does. It deletes the tables, and it inserts from the views back into the tables. Leave me a comment below if you have any questions.